Good day, everybody. Wolf Driver coming to you live. Now, we're titling this about our Gettysburg wolf driving adventure. So, this isn't live, the Wolf Driver adventure. I'm going to critique it, talk about what I do. While this video, we switch to it. We give you full screenshots, sometimes part screenshots, etc. So, lately, if you're not familiar with me, first of all, I'm the Wolf Driver. I travel the East Coast of the USA with my dogs in custom designed, basically dog sleds on wheels. I've pretty much designed everything that I ride on or customized it in some way. I've been running sled dogs for 30 years and almost all on different variations of dog sleds on wheels. I ran a big team up in Banff, Canada, just one time, and I've run sled dogs in my dogs on snow with regular dog sleds many a times. Not my current generation. Again, I've been doing this for 30 years, so I've had multiple generations of Huskies. But what I do is so unique and something most people, even people that are professional mushers, whether they're running the Iditarod or they're more urban mushers that have never seen anything like this. And I developed this really to be able to adventure with my dogs in multiple settings, basically. So I can go to almost any bike trail. Mostly we do rail trails, they're called, that are old railroad beds that have been converted to trails. And I'm trail worthy to be there with my dogs because of the size of the dog sleds on wheels that I've designed, as well as the configuration where the dogs are in. So they're kind of, they have their own lanes, basically. They're not on what you see on a traditional dog, what they call dog powered sports, dog joring sports, even dog sledding, where they're on a tow line where the line can deviate. So you have a really good lead dog, and the lead dog keeps the line taut. They're supposed to. And the other dogs have to follow in line. So you stay kind of in a straight line, but that line can deviate some. And depending on the situation, they can deviate a lot. And depending on the situation, as I was saying, that could be problematic where I want to travel with my dogs. So I'm kind of like a hybrid, if you will. I'm between dog mushing sports and between biking with your dog, keeping the dog tight to your bike or to what you're riding them on, etc. So some people use regular bikes. I've done that many a times. And some people use more like what I'm using now, recumbent, like trikes or quads, which means they don't have to balance. And recumbent means laying down. So all the different bikes I'm talking about are welcome on almost all the bike rail trails and almost all the bike trails you'll find probably where you live, where you reside. So let me make sure my video is playing here. Sorry, I think it stopped playing for a second. For some reason, it stopped playing. There it goes. So, and you can see right here, the dogs are in these U-bars. And the U-bars, sorry, I think I'm off Wi-Fi, and I need to put myself on Wi-Fi so I get a better stream there. Sorry, I got to do this for a sec. We taking a pause here. This is live, so you can understand sometimes we have some issues, but I want to get back to that video, and there we go. And I'll fast forward it just a little bit ahead so you can get to where we were at. But you can see the dogs are basically, they have almost their own roll cage. And what that does for them is it protects them in some ways, and it keeps them in that tight footprint or configuration that I was talking about. So here we could travel. I mean, I've gone as far in the past 30 years as Cape Cod, the Cape Cod Rail Trail, which is in Massachusetts, to it points south and west, almost as pretty much to Tennessee. We were right across the border in Virginia still. But we travel all over with my dogs. And when I say we, I've got a team that goes with me because I never know what I'm going to run into, whether it's other dogs, other animals, people-wise, trail-wise, road-wise conditions. Trucks can break down. I have a couple different vans I use, and I always want to keep my dogs, they're my priority, as safe as possible. So traveling with a team keeps us all safe, because if when this has happened before, we break down. Someone can go and maybe get help if we need it, or someone can help keep the dogs cool, or what, if the air conditioner isn't working, I have fans if we're in the summer. So, and by the way, my rig here, my electric dog sled on wheels, I call it, almost all my rigs allow me, because the dogs don't theoretically have to pull because it's motor propelled, allow me to take them year round, essentially. So they're not working as hard. They can propel some of the different bikes I have, some of the different electric dog sleds on wheels, but they certainly don't have to. So that means it's good through almost the whole year. And it means it's good through almost all their life stages, from puppy to senior. And you can see all this. I know I'm throwing a lot at you if you've never seen me before. On my website, wolfdriver.com, and I have a bunch of websites that specialize and focus on different aspects that you might be interested in, one or not the other, so you don't have to weed through everything, basically. By the way, some people just follow me. They don't have dogs because I travel all over, and they want to know what the trail looks like. You get, sometimes from these different trail apps, you get little synopsis, you get some reviews, and you get some photos, but I've got almost videos from every trail we travel, and when you see the dogs doing it, it gives you an idea of the width of the trail and the condition of the trail, because we have to be able to navigate it, of course, to be able to do what we're doing. So we're in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania here, and this is a whole new, I do road work with the dogs. We'll go on the roads, and I know people cringe, and you don't know the hate mail I get from people just, oh my gosh, those dogs are running on asphalt, they're running on concrete, they're running on blacktop. So everybody's got an opinion. And of course, I'm sharing all this, again, most importantly, for the betterment, especially of all dogs, but especially dogs along the husky line, sled dogs, because so many people get huskies because they're just such a striking look, and they're beautiful, they're fluff balls, and then they get them, and then they realize weeks, months, depending how young or old the dog is, not too much later after they get them, that, wow, this dog's got a lot of energy. This dog's pulling my arm socket out as I try to walk him or her, and this dog gets the zoomies and just freaks out. So usually friendly breed, but very intelligent, and with all the traits they have, designed to run, to pull, and to be in some of the harshest conditions on earth. When you try to contain that, domesticate that more than they are, that it doesn't end pretty usually, because they need to be entertained. They need to be running their mind and running their physicality, or they're going to get bored quick and look for another means to satisfy their desires. So I share this because this is pretty much an easy way to do this. You don't have to be near as elaborate as I am to get your dog, to get a husky, to get a high energy breed, the exercise they need without having to be a full-time musher or a full-time dog trainer, etc. So now I know people say people just want to walk their dogs. This breed, it's great to walk them, don't get me wrong, but they'll take you for a walk more often than not. And that's the whole concept behind hooking them to the bike, essentially. Let them take the bike and me for a walk, because when I want to stop them, I put the brakes on. When I want to go faster, I pedal faster, I use the throttle, and what I developed here in dog motorsports. So this whole thing opens up this whole concept, and you can bike with your dogs similar. That's how I started off. You have just one dog, you don't need to put the dog out in front like I've done with this mushing bar, I call it, and the U-bar design. But the dogs are actually able to run like this and to exercise like this, and pretty much use their traits and their breed-specific instincts to do what they were bred to do, even though, you might not have a husky that's got direct sled line lineage in their family tree. But the whole aspect that almost all dogs want to run, want to chase. A lot of dogs are very prey driven. talking about husky traits in specific here, but a lot of dogs want to do this. So almost all dogs can do this. And I've got a little Chinese crested that's all of 14 pounds, and I've adapted some of my rigs that she can go on, and she's actually gone with some of my huskies. So it's pretty cool. But with this particular setup, I can go through different roads, different areas. Now, again, I travel with a team because if we do get on a road, you have to be more than careful, because you have people, of course, driving on that road, not paying attention. In this particular rig here, I've got different rigs I've designed that I've talked about, we're low down. But going to Gettysburg, I decided to do that. There's battlefield tours there, and they're ones that we can go on by the park rangers that we're allowed to be on are pretty much the road tours, where they're auto tours, where you take your car and you stop and you have an app and you play. You're in front of a monument, for instance. They say this is auto stop 13, and you stop there and it reads you off what monument you're at and gives you the history in an audio portion or a way you can read it. So we didn't tour it like that. We went to a lot of the auto tour stops because they're park roads, most of them, that you can just stop at, look at what you're looking. We just go past it because this time of year, it's really cold out. So yesterday we were out there. This is from Monday. We were out there Monday, and we went yesterday also. So a 2-part segment. This is the first part. But Monday it was a little colder. I think the wind chill was in the teens, if not the single digits. Yesterday we were probably in the teens, so the high teens. So when the wind wasn't blowing, it felt like I was in the tropics. I mean, that's how conditioned I am for the cold now, because we've had unseasonably cool temperatures. We've had a lot of polar vortex situations, I guess, that have been occurring here. We've been suffering the polar vortex, if you want to call it that, for a lot of the winter here. So don't get me wrong, the dogs, you can't get it cold enough for huskies, essentially. I mean, they say they can go to 70 below zero. I don't think we're going to see that here. But we've gotten below zero with wind chills some of the over the past 30 years, and dogs just love it. They eat it up. Sometimes you have to be concerned. My girls are woolies, and I usually have woolly huskies, which means they're long hair, double coated. All huskies are double coated. There's different hair lengths. So pretty much the longest is a woolly. There's a plush. There's the standard, which most people have or are more familiar with. But the woolies look almost like just a big bear, essentially. They get really thick, especially the colder the temperatures, the colder the winter, the thicker they're going to get. So that can sometimes be a negative with precipitation, because it can actually, depending on what's going on, if you're getting hail or you're getting freezing rain, even snow can sometimes freeze up on them. They're really well insulated, but it'll get on their hair and make them heavy, and then it can actually have a chilling effect. So out in the wild, woolies with huskies, at least, or with dogs, from what I understand, or a little, obviously you don't have wild huskies anymore, but I guess wolves and other ancestors that are maybe coyotes that have the long hair, it's usually an anomaly, because it can be a detriment to them. It might keep them a little warmer. I don't know about that, but I just wound up with woolies. That's the way it's going. I've had some short hair, and one of my huskies now is more of a plush between a woolly and a short hair, a standard coat. So we just sometimes just letting you know the different hair lengths and different aspects of the husky. So we're on the Gettysburg auto tour, and we're running the dogs through the streets there, and it's a lot of fun because being surrounded by all these, and you can't get the full aspect because you're getting my POV view here, my point of view from the electric dog sled, but all the monuments, and we couldn't stop because the huskies in the winter, when it's cold like this, they don't want to stop. They just want to keep going almost forever. We stopped to hydrate them. We stopped to, I'm going to say pretty much the only time we stop is to hydrate them, unless we really want to take a particular picture or video, but they don't have much of it. They drink and they want to go right away, and they start carrying on and twisting and turning, and come on, Dad, start pulling on the sled. I've got brakes on there, but if I'm not sitting on there with my weight, sometimes they can pull it a little bit with the brakes on. So always got to be cognizant of that. But we're flying through here essentially, and you can see a good pace they have. Actually, with this temperature and with the roads, the way the roads were, I think we ran some of our fastest speeds this year there. Now, some of the roads there, or some of the touring area we went to, are pretty got a lot of hills and hill climbs and descents. So that's where Dog Motorsports really comes in. Again, it's motor propelled. A lot of this they were pulling because it's light enough. It's designed that way. I call it pushing, the push to mush system. And again, it's because of the way the harnesses are, the tether points, and the tether range, how much room they have. So they're not going to get the leverage of a traditional dog sled or more dog-powered sports. So they're not going to be able to engage their whole body, essentially. So they can still propel this vehicle. I call it push to mush. Again, it's explained on my website, Dog Motorsports on that. But you can see they're picking up a pace here. They're pretty much flying, so they can get their energy out. And the push to mush system works great. But when we're going up hills, because they don't get that full range, it's a little harder for them to pull to propel the vehicle up a hill, depending on the grade. So, and again, it's only 4 Huskies, but we're still light enough that they could easily do it if they had the full range. If they were in like a sled dog harness, like an X-back harness, and they had the full tow rope, etc. But some of these hills might be a little steep for that, though. So that's why I've got Dog Motorsports. I hit the throttle, it climbs up the hill, kind of like if a musher was on the back of the sled and they need to kick the ground a little bit to climb. We're taking a turn here. The motor does the same work without me having to get out of the vehicle, and that's good for me. I'm getting a little older. I'm not in the best physical shape right now, and this still gives me the opportunity to run the dogs any way they want to run because they're not relying on my physicality. And some people, as we get older, bad knees, bad backs, some people are incapacitated physically in other ways. So this really provides almost everybody the opportunity to have a high energy breed dog because they can run them to their heart's content, to their dog's heart's content without us having to be as physical. So that's the beauty of it. Now, through this Gettysburg touring area, again, there's a lot of battlefields, and some areas have trees, which you see we're running through now, but the trees didn't give us any real coverage from the wind when it was blowing. Actually, it might have made it worse. The video's jumping a little bit there. I apologize. So on the U-bars, people ask me, well, why do you have the pads? So they're pool noodles, actually. A lot of that is done for aesthetics, but also the top bar can never really touch the dog. The dogs aren't supporting any weight, by the way. It's all supported by the bike. It's kind of cantilevered over them. But the pool noodles, they'll rub against the side sometimes just because maybe they want to see around the other dog. Maybe they're looking back at something, a distraction. So it prevents them from rubbing on the metal. And if they do touch it in an awkward way, that will it just pads them and cushions them. And you'll see the dog, they're called holy roller balls. They're basically dog play toys. And I'm familiar with those because I've had dogs for, like I said, have been 30 years. So the balls I knew would fit really well over any protruding parts. And again, the dogs never really come in contact with those parts. But just in case, when I deal with dogs, I'm always expect the unexpected and be prepared. So by this, it helps us when we handle it. It's a little softer for our hands. But most importantly, if the dogs do come in contact with any protruding parts, the rubberized dog balls will keep them safe. It'll keep them off of it so nothing can touch them. I mean, they've got their fur to protect them. There's no real sharp edges on there anyway, but I'm always the guy of being overcautious, and it really makes the whole setup more fun and more inviting, I think, for the dogs to enjoy it. People do get a few comments. They're concerned about the dog's comfort. Well, that doesn't look very comfortable. It's very comfortable. It's all built. I've designed this, again, 30 years of running dogs, so I've got a lot of knowledge and experience. So I've designed this to be as comfortable for the dogs and as safe, all revolving around safety. And again, that's why the pads, the balls, etc. But the bars are designed to be almost the maximum length that'll fit comfortably on these rail trails, on these bike trails, and fit through the gates, because a lot of them have gates because they don't want other vehicles on there. So they make them a certain width, and usually if you're within that width, you're with other rules of the trail. You're pretty much safe for that trail, and that's what keeps us so tight is the U-bars that I've designed. But again, they're almost maximum width to where they'll just make it through almost all of the bollards and gates of the trails. Keep in mind also that they're wider than it really needs to be for the width of almost all dogs. So that gives them the ability to see around. The back dogs can always see around the front dogs, whether it's inside. Sometimes the front dogs will run inside, the back dogs will run outside, or vice versa. So they always like to know what's ahead of them, and this gives them the view that's ahead of them. There's also enough length on the tethers when we stop, usually in warmer weather, or if we've been running really hard, the dogs have been, they can lay down. So there's enough length to lay down. They can always reach for their water. There's enough to do what I call the push to mush. So it's very comfortable for them. In fact, I'm always looking how the dogs are faring, how they're working out, especially new dogs, in the equipment. I just want to make sure this isn't stopped. I believe we stopped for a second. Looks like it maybe for some reason it was stopping. Oh, there it goes. And I'm always looking for even wear on the dog's hair. So that would mean maybe the dog's rubbing against the pole or rubbing against one of the balls I was talking about or something. So I want to always be sure that the dogs are, the equipment agrees with the dogs, basically.
Can you full screen the video?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. There we go. So I always look for uneven, any hair wear. So that would mean they were rubbing a certain way. And of course, the dogs limping, God forbid. But it can happen, and it can happen from something you don't even know. There could be a thorn on the ground. So I've had this happen before. Actually, when I take the dogs to farms sometimes, off leash, another generation ago, and the dogs, one of them just start limping. Always checked what's going on. Did they hurt their muscles? And checked their pads, and there was actually a thorn in the pad, and it pulled it out, no blood, and it was fine. The dog was fine. So sometimes it's something like that, but if it would have stayed in there, it would have created a problem. But always looking for how the dogs are interacting with all my gear, and harnesses too. They can wear on the dogs a certain way. A dog runs a different way, and some dogs, they could chafe under the arms, improper fitting harness. Dog maybe gained weight, and you had it adjusted when it was before it gained weight. These are all aspects that when you have dogs, you're always thinking about, because of course you want them to be as healthy as possible and have the best experience as possible. And they don't always complain, but sometimes the tail of the tape is how they're walking, how they're navigating, how their fur looks, how their body looks, etc. So if you have any questions or comments, you can certainly put them on the feed you're watching this in, and I'll try to address them. Do we have any, Rod?
Cheryl says, great information for those who obtain a husky. So true, they will play with you, or they will play with you. They love the cold. Keep warm and carry on.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. I always appreciate your input. I knew who you were when you said carry on. My producer's reading me the comments just because we don't have a way today to that I could see them on screen, but we'll still address them all. Thank you so much. Yes, and I know Cheryl had a husky herself, and maybe more than one, but I know she had the one because hers looks like my Lola, because I see her and she comments a lot. Everybody I get to know that comments a lot on my social media pages, and it's really nice sometimes because you just feel like you know the person, and a lot of people that follow me have huskies or have had huskies, and some people will live vicariously through me and just want to remember the times they had with their dogs, or want to pick up information. Sometimes, what I'm saying here hopefully can help them with their dog in some way, do some different activities, etc. So I really appreciate that, Cheryl. Yeah. The colder, the better it is. I mean, I always laugh. You can't really get cold enough for a husky. At least I'd be laying down. They'd be running around in the type of cold they can really tolerate and deal with. So the next week here, it's actually going to be in the 50s, I believe. So that's a big disparity because we've got the teens this week at night in single digits a lot of times. And then next week, we're going to be in the 50s. So that always changes my plans where I'm going to go to run the dogs. And it's really nice having the East Coast essentially as my palette, my range. I can go to so many different areas. So if it's too warm here, I can travel up north. If it's too cold here for us, sometimes I'll head down south just to get a little warmer and still keep it kind of comfortable for the Huskies. But next week, so with that big disparity, sometimes it's hard to take them out, and you want to be careful that they still don't overheat or overwork because it's cold now. And when you put them in a warmer temperature, all of a sudden now, when you go from from winter to summer, there's spring. And usually, over the springtime, it gradually gets all of us prepared for the summer, including the dogs. They start shedding their fur, shedding their coats, and that helps them prepare for the warmer months, at least in the climates where we're at. And when it all of a sudden changes, like, today's 10 degrees and tomorrow's 40 degrees, that's a big disparity. And they still got their full winter coat on, and they were just like running around in the cooler temperatures. So it's the change of temperature like that, so drastic. So all of a sudden, we want to ease into that. So next week, I'll look for places to go up north to see if I can get them a little cooler than the anticipated higher temps because of that disparity. And I want to keep the dogs obviously always as healthy as possible and let them get the exercise, all the exercise I can give them, and not have to slow them down because of warmer weather like that. They will slow down naturally, of course, but overheating is always the biggest issue with them because they're just so inefficient. All dogs are inefficient at cooling. So you can see most of this run, they were, like I said, they were flying. They were just doing their stuff, and they couldn't have been happier. That's the way I love to do it, and that's why, no pun intended, I weather these cold weather conditions because I know before we know it, it's going to be warmer, even just talking next week. And we're getting towards the end of February here. So spring's next month. So it's going to start warming up at some point in the near future. And I know that'll start them slowing down and not their happiest time of year. Us humans, a little different, but I do this all for them. That's another thing. People get in there and they say, well, Wolf Driver, you're just using the dog. I mean, a lot of people just, like, a picture's worth 1,000 words, maybe a video's worth 1,000,000 words. And they get there and they look at my video and they say, oh my gosh, he's using the dogs to pull them on all these places. That's terrible. They don't realize that they don't have to pull. And a lot of people don't understand working breeds, that's what they want to do. People say animal cruelty. I hear that every video, and I usually respond that only if I don't do it because it's cruel not to let them exercise their instincts, all their instincts, and keep them buttoned up. You want to let them spread their wings and do what they were bred to do. And my development of Dog Motorsports and Wolf Driver and everything gives people the ability to work the dogs like they need to be worked, like they desire to be worked, to give them the best lifestyle without having to be full-time mushers.
Another question from Haley Stevens. She says, have you guys ever run in New Hampshire?
Hey, Haley. So Haley Stevens asked if we've ever run in New Hampshire. And unfortunately, we haven't. But we've been really close. And I might not be, because I'm the lay of the land, I'm not great with geography. But we've been to Connecticut. We've been to Massachusetts. Rhode Island, I think we ran a couple trails. And I think and New York. But that would be more towards New Hampshire. We haven't. If you have any suggestions, Haley, please leave them in the comment section of trails so I can research them and see if we can make it there. My bucket list is to get to every state. We're hoping to go out west this summer, possibly over to Colorado's a dream. But please, definitely, forward us. So I know there's some good trails there because I've done some research. It hasn't been in the cards for us as of yet, but we hope to do that in the near future. Really appreciate the comment. Thank you so much.
We got another comment from a guy named Daniel Williams. And he said, you need 4 more dogs to pull you.
So Daniel Williams, let me see. That's a deep topic there. He says I need 4 more dogs to pull me. Oh my! Daniel might be talking about my gut. So Danny, as we know him here, is actually part of the Wolf Driver pit crew and a good friend of mine. And I've known Danny for many years. And if you ever get a chance to watch any of our videos, that Danny, actually our documentary, you'll see him in there. He doesn't stop. He's very funny, and he'll make you laugh in the documentary. But he and I we'll go at it sometimes, just like brothers. And I mean, sounds like we're going to kill each other, and then we don't care. We just say anything to each other, and then we'll talk about it over a good cold cut sub. We both like to eat. We both like to have a good time. Danny's a great guy. Appreciate that, Danny. So it's funny though. You're going to say, Rod?
Haley posted a reply to what you said, and she said almost close to New Hampshire. I know you have mentioned the app All Trails before, and that's the app I use. I don't know any names, unfortunately.
Okay, great. So Haley, thank you again. Haley mentioned that because I said I use All Trails. That's one of the apps. I use All Trails and Trail Link, and they have the trails listed there. So she didn't know any of the trails off the top of her head. But I'm going to go and look through there and find some, depending. I'm always looking at weather patterns, weather conditions, and trail length, trail surface, trail width, etc., and to see if it would be something we could do. And a lot of times we do this from the seat of our pants. So we don't always know what we're going to get into. And that's why I got a crew with me. I usually take a couple different of my electric dog sleds on wheels so I can actually be prepared if I've got to go off-road more or if we got to ride on streets because the trail didn't work out, if we got to go to a plan B. I've got a vehicle for almost for every occasion or every trail we could come to for the most part, and different harnesses, it's a whole different setup sometimes, but we can usually find somewhere to go even if we head to a trail and it's not quite what we thought it to be. Thanks so much again, Haley. I really appreciate that.
We got another one from Karen Wiley. She says, finally caught you live. Had Huskies 30 plus year. Lost my 14-year-old Dakota a few months ago. I smiled when you said some of us live vicariously through your adventure. So true. Just rescue a husky mix from a local shelter. He's outside plowing snow.
So Karen, great to hear from you. I don't know if you're my producer repeating your question. So Karen Wiley, I believe is the way you pronounce your last name. Yeah, I really appreciate it. You've supported me and been a long-time Wolf Driver fan. And Karen's had Huskies 30 years plus. And I know you just lost Dakota at 14 years old. And that's always the most devastating aspect out of having any dogs. And a lot of times people have a dog in their life, whatever dog it is, whether it's a toy breed or a husky or anything in between. And when they lose it, they won't get another one because it's just so it's hard to go through. But those of us that have had, it doesn't make it any easier the more you've had. But those of us that have had different generations of dogs, we more than one dog, we realize this. And again, it doesn't make it any easier, but we keep in our mind that we gave that dog the best life possible. And if there's any fault they have, they just don't live longer lives. So it's really exciting that you got a husky mix now. And she said I believe the dog's a male, is outside plowing snow right now. So yes, you're getting snow. On my way here to Rod to New Style Independent Studio we're in Hanover, Pennsylvania. It wasn't supposed to snow, and all of a sudden it's snowing. So there's a snow squall happening, and the streets are starting to get covered. I'm like, wow, I feel like I live out west with all the snow we're getting here, or live up in New England or something. This year, not that it's been a ton of snow, but it's been often we've been getting it. And it's easier to deal with a few inches at a time instead of 8, 12, 15 inches, blizzard conditions, whatever. So I'm really excited for you, Karen. It's so awesome, having a new family member, and I love the breed. Anything to do with a husky, or a husky and any dog, and that's why almost all the dogs I get have some sort of husky in them, because I just know the breed so well. And though we love dogs because they have their own individual personalities, there are certain stereotypes that we can usually cross over from breed to breed, so from dog to dog, so we can prepare or better deal with some of those with huskies personality. I'm not going to call them deficiencies. I'm going to call them overficiencies, if there is such a word. They're just so boisterous and loud. There are some that are chill, and I've had some that are chilled, and they're great also, but almost all of them a lot of dogs do get some sort of zoomies, get some sort of husky boost, and we deal with it accordingly. So good luck, Karen. Look forward to hopefully you can send some pictures in some of the comments, and keep me advised on the behavior and how your new dog's doing. A name also says I knew of Dakota from you mentioning him, and again, I'm sorry for your loss with Dakota. When I lose a dog, I almost always get a new dog, because that, everyone deals with loss differently, but that helps me. Now I've got 4 other dogs, actually, because I've got a little Chinese crested too in our family, but focusing on giving another dog a new life, that helps ease the pain. If I'm saying that correctly, it helps me refocus that emptiness in my heart. I do take lots of pictures and videos and everything else of all my dogs, so I've got them all in my house, where I just smile, and it's so heartwarming seeing them, even if it's from almost 30 years ago when I had my first husky. It is 30 years. I see a picture of that dog. His name was Czar, and I look up and see a video or a picture, and I'm like, gosh. I mean, it's just like, a tear comes to the eye. The tears of joy, though. And they're just the greatest. Dogs are God spelled backwards. Yeah, I'm sure you might have heard that. Greatest gift of the world. So, anything else, Rod?
Yes, we got another one. Let's see. We have Miguel Angel from Minnesota. He said, "Hello there, Miguel here from Minnesota. Would you make a pulling cart, or I didn't know how you call it, to sell it by any chance, or even a video on how to make it with details? Thank you."
Sure. So Miguel, we might be saying your name wrong. I apologize. From Minnesota, was asking if I would make a pulling cart to sell. So I don't sell any of my equipment, and I actually used to. Now, it wasn't my equipment. I was the North American distributor for the Seiko cart. So the Seiko cart is, and you can look that up because they still make them, Miguel. It's expensive. It's a really good piece of equipment, and you can use that with 1 or 2 or even 4 dogs. And it's very similar. I've incorporated some of their designs in my design because I think it's one of the coolest dog carts or dog sports there is. It's basically mushing. The dogs are on kind of a U-bar, but more of a horizontal U-bar than a vertical U-bar like I've designed. So they're more out in front with a bar that goes around them, and it gives you an opportunity to use a 4-point harness. They have Seiko harnesses. So the 4-point harness means it's really easy to train dogs to do this because it's harder for them. A lot of times dogs will back out of a harness. 4-point harness, it's harder for them to do that. And it also, the Seiko cart itself is, I believe, under 60 pounds, at least they used to be. So really easy for even one dog to pull with, depending on our size, but usually, one dog can usually pull. Each dog can comfortably pull usually 3 times their own body weight. So if the dog is 50 pounds, just taking an average husky weight, if they're 50 pounds, they could usually pull 150 pretty comfortably. With the Seiko cart, it has no wheels. It is strictly a dog cart, but it's got a rear deck, so you can stand on the back. And if you just have one dog, you can get on there and you can assist it just like a musher does, even on concrete, on grass, dirt, etc. It's easy to transport. It's 4 wheels. But I used to be the North American distributor for them. The problem is now they are just so expensive. I'm talking, I think $3,000 or $4,000 retail. So when I used to sell them, I think they were like 12 or 1,500 retail. You can go on Facebook Marketplace sometimes. You can go on eBay. Sometimes you can find them because they're so lightweight. They are big, but they can be shipped usually across the country. And they don't have a motor. And you do need their specialized tow bar, which comes with them. But if you have the money, you want to spend the money, you don't mind doing it, whatever. The new ones are really nice. I mean, they have some really, at least when I saw them last, some really unique thin tires, but they're like the tire, they're tubeless, so they won't get flat on you. They can go over most terrains, and they have mag wheels. So really nice. Again, I don't make anything. I do have a video. I don't know if you saw it. If you go to dogmotorsports.com and or electricdogsledonwheels.com, it should take you right to a video where I show how I built mine. Now, I don't have a lot of raw details there. There's not like a schematic or anything, but I hope to put something like that up because, again, I don't sell anything. I sell Seiko Kart when I was in the pet product business and I was doing dog powered sports. With the Seiko Kart, though, I have customized mine. I had 3 dogs in the front. I did a lot of customization, and I also attached to it, because they're not motorized, a bike motor that would actually help me assist the dogs. I was running older dogs on there, and they couldn't pull, and it would assist me without having to get on and off the bike so much. Again, I didn't have to be as physical. So I hope that answers your question. I do hope to, in the future, put more schematics and more exact measurements. You can always, I usually don't respond to any Facebook, any social media direct messaging, but if you put anything in the comments section, I'd be happy to. It's not a secret. I'll give you my exact dimensions and what I did to build mine. Any questions? I don't mind. You can barrage me with questions. I'll answer them when I can, and I'll answer them accordingly. But check the Seiko Kart out. I really think that might be an option for you. Again, all their generations. I don't think the newer ones are necessarily better than the older ones. In fact, I like some of the aspects of the older ones better. But the new ones are good. So please don't hesitate to check them out. If you just look at it, you don't have to buy it. Obviously, they do make a leather Seiko harness, which I think is one of the finest harnesses in the world. They're like $500, and I use them sometimes. I use them for other vehicles too. They're phenomenal. They're really good. So hope that helps.
All right, we got from Instagram, Dosi9876 says, I like watching your videos. We also have
Dosi98. Thank you so much. Dosi said that, and I might be saying that name wrong. Apologize. That they like watching my videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support. And even if you have something negative to say, I don't mind. I just hate being attacked, but that comes with it. Comes with the territory. But if you have any questions or you think I'm doing something wrong, I don't mind answering that either. So please don't be shy. But thank you so much. I appreciate your support.
We got also McCollin Amanda says, I have a foster husky that I've safely connected to an ATV so I can keep up. But this is what she needs, meaning your rig. She says, I love this.
So McCullough Amanda, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, said that I believe it's a woman or lady or whatever. She fosters huskies, which is so wonderful. Anybody that can foster dogs, it's just wonderful aspect, and I commend everyone that can do that. And it's also a great way of getting to know a breed, and it helps make that dog more adoptable, so someone can come along and adopt it. She was saying how she uses an ATV because she figured out that walking the dog ain't gonna do it for a lot of huskies. So she's using an ATV to attach the dog to, so they can go their own pace. That's one of the aspects I do. So I use a particular device called a spider rig. There's other ones out there. There's a dog sport called dog roading. And what dog roading is, where the dogs are attached to a vehicle that's too heavy for them to pull. You don't have enough dogs attached to it, whether it's an ATV. They even attach them to horses sometimes. And they're doing basically resistance running, and they wear a specialized, what they call a roading harness, goes across their chest. And I know people have misconceptions about these harnesses being bad. If they're fitted properly and the sport's done properly, it provides the resistance. So the dog's pushing into the harness, they can't propel the vehicle again, but they're getting that resistance, and it's really a good physical exercise for them. So that's probably not what you're doing exactly. You're probably putting them on there with a harness, etc. But the dog roading aspect will put them on a specialized arm that the dog couldn't come in contact with the ATV. Check it out, dogroading.com. You're doing that. Again, I started off on a bicycle. Anything you can attach a dog to safely. Some people will hold a leash, and that scares me a little bit because on a bike, I definitely wouldn't do that on an ATV. But just because anything comes in there and anything can happen. So there's different devices out there on the market where you can attach them to safely. But that's awesome you're doing that. So wonderful, again, fostering the dog and getting that dog more adaptable, giving that dog more time to find a forever home, etc. And putting them on any vehicle you can work them safely is the real key for a high energy breed like a Husky. And that's how I started off, and that's why I do everything I do. Thank you again for the comment. Truly appreciate that.
A lot of comments today. We have another one from snowman.la. Says, I'm a professional dog trainer and PCT through hikers, so this is my jam.
Snowman.la. Thank you so much. So Snowman is a professional dog trainer and works with dogs, and I really appreciate all the support so much. A friend of mine, actually how I learned about dogs, it was world champion dog trainer in Schutzen. So Schutzen, I've talked about this as German protection. A lot of police dogs, military dogs are trained that way. And he had no experience with sled dogs, but he was really good with behavioral aspects with dogs. And that's my first generation of Huskies. I trained with him, and I knew him throughout his life. Unfortunately, he's passed away since. But we had many years of friendship. Really good friendship, and I learned so much through his dog training. And I think at one time he had 50 dogs, I'm going to say, and Rottweiler Shepherds. I don't think he ever had a Husky. So when he met my Husky, it was pretty interesting. And actually, he worked a lot with shelters. So he would donate his time to work with the dogs to make them more trainable and more adoptable. And he worked with a bunch of pit bulls. And one of his proteges, a guy that was another trainer that learned from him to become a trainer, he took in. In Baltimore City, there's a rescue called Barks, and they take in so many pit bulls, and he would take these pit bulls. He made almost a sanctuary. Again, my dog trainer's one of his students, and at the sanctuary had all these pit bulls, and I went there, and a lot of them, or some of them, were almost albino, and I think it's indicative in that breed that they're deaf when they're albino. I'm not positive of this, but I just remember some of them being albino and some of them being deaf, and we would do sign language to show the pit bull not to jump on you. Really cool stuff. And I would actually, some of my Huskies, we train with the pit bulls, and a lot of these were rescues from fighting rings and everything else. Terrible, terrible lives. And he had them so well trained. We'd take them out with my Huskies and off leash all of the dogs, and we'd go to different areas. So yeah, I've spent some time in the dog training world. So great. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for the shout out.
Another comment from Julie Valentina. She says, those dogs love that I have a Husky, and he loves to run on concrete pavement, anything.
Yes, Julie, for thank you. Julie, thank you for the comment so much. And Julie said she has a Husky, and they do. they love to run on any surface. And I do get a lot of flack because we're running, and I mentioned this earlier, on the concrete, on the asphalt, et cetera. And keep in mind, I always say surfaces, it's more, whether you need booties or not, is more dog dependent than surface dependent. How a particular dog runs, the age of the dog, and the condition, how they're conditioned. So my dogs, we do a lot of smooth surface work, meaning asphalt, blacktop, concrete, etc. And my dogs build up a callus, and probably your dog, Julie, like you were saying, from being on the hard surface, and it helps keep their claw lengths at a good length, so you don't have to stress them out by cutting them or having the groomer cut them. It doesn't help the dew claw if your dog has one, but it can help the other claws. And the pads get conditioned, and they get healthy callus on them that protect them. So if they do come into contact with some other awkward surfaces, God forbid, glass, stone, rock, they have to walk on something sharp, they'd be better conditioned for it. We just have to keep in mind, if we're running the dogs, how they're doing on there, and monitor it. And some dogs I call booties a necessary evil sometimes, because they can't grip the ground, so they're more likely to slide in them. But for some dogs, they might need them all the time. For other dogs, they might need them some of the time. It might be an age thing, etc. But the way I run the dogs, and right now at this stage in their life, and these dogs, they don't need booties for the distance we're going and the weight consideration and how we're running. So all of that plays a factor on it. I've got a website page called Paul Aware, PAWAWARE.com, and I've got an article on there that explains it a little more detail. Thank you so much. Appreciate your comment.
Just another comment from Barbara. She says, I love the dogs.
Barbara says she loves the dogs. Thank you so much, Barbara. And, dogs are, again, Mother Nature's greatest gift. I always say dog spelled backwards is God. Coincidentally, I'm dyslexic, so I can misspell that at any time. But they're amazing. And, they just always are by your side, and truly incredible. And why I developed this whole dog style lifestyle, and why I share it here, again, for the betterment of all dogs. And when you see me here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, going through the trails, it just gives you an idea. There's so many ways you can adventure with your dog. You can do this on dog leash, walking a dog. You can do this on a regular bike. You can do it on something more elaborate like I've designed. Again, depending on the breed, the season, your time, and what your dog is, how they're trained, etc. What I do here takes almost no training, though. It helps me training them, but usually I can put almost any dog in this configuration and they're going to go, especially with the other dogs. So people always ask me, well, how do you train your dog? The first dog is usually the hard dog. If you only have one dog, it's usually harder. But when you put them with another dog doing something similar, that's, I can do that. That's safe. Yeah, I'm going to go. Some dogs are a little more hesitant, not as, I think it's easier to train a dog that is more excitable than it is a dog that's a little more hesitant and low confidence level, etc. But I've worked with dogs from all aspects and all personalities and all determinations, whatever, that I've successfully trained to do this. It's really easy, especially when you get into a high energy breed like a husky. Running just is in their blood. So anything else, Rod?
No, that was a lot.
So I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this Gettysburg experience. And you can see, there's just so many monuments, there's cannons everywhere, and you can see the battlefields, how open it is. And the fencing we passed, that's on my left right now, and on the right is, I call it like Civil War fencing. For some reason, I'm in the Civil War, the area, I guess, where we run a lot of times in Maryland and Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania. So whenever I see this fencing, I'm like, that's from the Civil War era. And pretty sure that's maybe where it was developed, the way they stacked the beams. Pretty interesting. So this was great. This was the first part. We did the second part yesterday. As I said, really cold, a lot of fun. Dogs did great. There's some real interesting aspects I hope to post. I've been a little quiet on social media, and I apologize, but it's just because it's been so cold, and I've been spending all my time outside with the dogs. And when I get home, I'm like frozen stiff, almost like rigor mortis is set in. So I just got to unwind, and I just got to take care of the dogs and then get myself into bed, basically. So we've been out a lot. We're going out again tomorrow. Hope to go to one of the farm areas where I will be running on the ATV. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate all the support, all the love, all the comments, and have a great day, everybody. We hope to be back here next week. And don't forget, I've got a documentary. It's not out yet, but if you go to dogdocumentary.com, you can see all about it. You can see more about the electric dog sled on wheels, and you can see some of the awards we won, and it gives you something to get excited about. I'm Wolf Driver signing off. See you on the next VODcast.